Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. I'm excited because, we're getting a little closer to the new year, but let's start thinking about some of the things we really want to do now, which is why I brought on a solutions coach, and her name is Tracy Pleschourt. I'm excited to talk the conversation, but before we get there, welcome Tracy, but also I would love for you to share with those listening and watching, what made you decide to become a solutions coach?
Well, thank you for having me. And I became a solutions coach because I had this never ending desire and chase within me to constantly overcome my problems. And it wasn't until I realized that I was focusing on the wrong problem and the wrong solution that I had this light bulb moment that, oh my gosh, I think that's what most people struggle with is they're focused on the wrong thing in an attempt to overcome their problems. So it made perfect sense once I figured out how to overcome my own problems, to actually create a formula or a methodology to teach other people. And I think, even though I'm certified as a life coach, I think calling myself a solutions coach might actually be more appropriate.
Mm. So, Tracy, as we get closer, as I said, to the new year, what are some of the obstacles or even mindsets that really kind of prevent us from moving forward and doing things we want to do, whether it's in our career, our business, or our life?
Yeah. So we all have these saboteur narratives going on in kind of the background that we may or may not even notice. But unfortunately, if without the awareness of them, we tend to react. We tend to have these kind of knee jerk reactions and behaviors that lead us to a lot of self sabotaging results. And so these narratives need to literally be put under the spotlight so that we can be on the lookout for them.
Mm.
Those narratives are vast. They sound like I will be happy when. So it's a very judgmental type narrative that we are unintentionally listening to that sounds like I'll finally be happy when I lose the weight, or I'll be successful when I hit $100,000. I will finally be the entrepreneur that I wanted to be when I attract this kind of clientele. It's very like you're judging the circumstance and saying, I'll be happy when you're reserving happiness or success or satisfaction for a time that's down the road when in reality, all of that is available to you right now. You just have to be aware of those kind of narratives that are going on so that instead of reacting from them, you can respond to them. So there's 10 very universal narratives that most people are listening to. And again, they're very unaware of these. So I love to offer this saboteur assessment so that people have a better understanding of what narratives are most prevalent in their life so that they are less likely to react. And instead, because they have an awareness of it, they can be on the lookout for it and they can respond with a question like, is that even true? Because most of the time, those narratives aren't true. So, those 10 saboteur narratives include the judge, the people pleaser, the victim, the hyperachiever. They all have these narratives that are actually birthed from your inherent strengths, but they're overused and abused and they show up in a saboteur type way. So I really make it my mission to help people become aware of what are those narratives that they're unintentionally listening to and unfortunately reacting to.
And as you were saying that, Tracy, I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about how I look at other people, other businesses, looking at the numbers, looking at what they're posting on social media, thinking, oh, I've got to do this, that, and the other. But now, like you said, I'm really understanding what my purpose is and being grateful for where I am, because the other day I was working with a client and she just told me all the things she was able to achieve because she was just working with me. She said, Janet, I got my files organized. Next thing I know, I paid off my car, and now I paid off a credit card, and now I'm working on another one. And I was like, wow. She said, just because you disciplined me. So it was like, you know what? That's what it's all about. Not about the numbers and how many posting I do. So
Right.
thank you for sharing that. So my next question I'm actually going to read because I found this so interesting. So you talk about what you call an operating system. And I thought about that and I was like, wait a minute. We have operating system for just about everything in our homes. Why not for ourselves? So can you explain that and really how impactful it is for each one of us to have one?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So, and I like using the term operating system because I think it is so easy to relate to because of the smartphones that we have and sometimes the cars that we have, they consistently need to be updated. And so I want you to kind of be thinking about your way of thinking. And because the way you operate, the way you behave is like rooted in how you are thinking. You're either thinking unintentionally or you're thinking with intention. And so here's the best way I know how to explain it. You have this 3-pound organ that exists between your ears. All human beings have it. And if you think about it like as if you were cutting that brain right down the middle. The left side is your primitive side. It's purposed with keeping you alive and really expending as little energy as possible. So it really runs like almost on default or on autopilot. It keeps your heart beating without you having to think about it. It keeps you breathing without having to think about it. It keeps you from walking in front of a bus without having to really think about it, right? So it's very habitual. And because it's meant to keep you alive, it offers you very dramatic thoughts to like get your attention. But here's the deal. We aren't in a primitive state or in any sort of dangerous state most of the time. And yet we're listening to these very dramatic thoughts. So I like to give the example of, let's say I'm on a diet and I happen to walk through my kitchen and I see the container of Oreos sitting there. The primitive brain thought, because it's trying to quote unquote keep me alive, is you better eat those before they're not there anymore or before somebody else does. Right. And so before I know it, this reactive knee jerk behavior has me eating the Oreos. And it's only in retrospect do I actually think about it and go, well, why the heck did I just do that? I'm on a diet, right? It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're a bad person. It's because you are operating from your primitive brain, the very reactive part of your brain, the dramatic part of your brain that offers you thoughts that are almost always untrue. But here's the deal. Most of us have never been taught about the neuroscience of our brain. So again, it's not because you're broken, it's really because you've never been taught how to operate from the other side of your brain. So
Mm-hmm.
we have that 3-pound organ. The left part is your primitive side. The right part is, doctors and scientists call it your prefrontal cortex. I call it your prodigy brain because it's the more extraordinary part of your brain. It has the ability to respond versus react. It has the ability to question that thinking, that primitive brain thinking. So it is the part of your brain that gives you access to strengths like empathy, compassion, creativity, discovery, innovation. You can only tap into those strengths if you are operating from that right part of your brain that I call your prodigy brain. And it all starts with an awareness of when you are listening to those other narratives, those primitive narratives, having an awareness of when they show up and not judging yourself for having them because you're human, you're going to have them. The difference is whether or not we are reacting to them or responding from them. That's the only difference. And so I like to talk about it in the context of which part of your brain are you operating from? And so I
Mm.
developed a 4-step system that helps you operate from your prodigy brain. It helps you think in a way that keeps you in control of the results and the experiences that you're having. So at Self Made You, we talk about our mission as helping people like learn how to think. We all have been to school, and school taught us very successfully what to think. And then they tested us on our ability to memorize what they taught us to think. But nobody taught us how to think. And so that's what I'm here for, is I teach people how to think so that they're operating from that other part of their brain that gets them the results that they actually want.
And as you were saying that, Tracy, I think about sometimes when someone says, "Hey, Jen, I want to hire you." And I said, "Okay, fine. Let's do a consultation. When do you want to schedule it?" And of course, immediately they want to organize and clean everything. And I tell them, I says, no, I need to see how you, like you say, operate, how you function, because I want to create a system around you. For example, if you're taking the shoes off by the door, we need to create a system there instead of trying to change the way you operate. So thank you
Yeah.
for, so everybody watching and listening, remember that.
Yeah, that is the more effective, the more efficient way of changing. Even though most people say, let's just get to the results, just give me the list of what to do and what not to do. That is not how you're going to create sustainable change. The way you're going to create sustainable change is looking at the patterns that got you the result that you're actually experiencing. Starting there, recognizing that the pattern goes, I'm thinking something that makes me feel a certain way, that has me behaving in this way. You want to understand that pattern, that way of operating, so that it makes sense of how you're going to do things differently. And doing things differently does not mean starting with the actions, it means starting with the way you're thinking.
I hope everybody either watching or listening heard that, because that was powerful, powerful. So, Tracy, this is a question I ask all my guests. How do you stay organized? And for those of you who are just listening and not watching, of course, you should see the back, because I want to kind of put my face up close, but I know I don't want to scare Tracy away, because I'm like, ooh, and an eye just at her background. But how do you do it? How do you, because I know you're a mom. And of course, I kind of saw the age of your daughter. I still can't believe that, because you just look like sisters.
Oh, thank you.
But also, with your business, your clients, things in the community, etc. How do you like manage it all? How do you stay organized?
Oh, you know what? I mean, this is going to sound like scripted, but I promise you, this is really truly from my heart. It is all about keeping my thoughts organized. Whether or not my brain or my mind feels organized is very reflectant in my environment. To be very honest, when the thoughts and the feelings are at like kind of this chaotic state, it shows up in my environment. And so I do a really good job of prioritizing how I'm going to think each and every day, literally on the hour. So we created a planner and I call it Self-Made Day, and it's available on Amazon, and it is my like secret to living a very organized life, because what it does is it has me deciding ahead of time, not the importance and the emphasis is not on what I'm doing. The importance and the emphasis is on how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. So, for example, we're recording this at 9 a.m. on what is today, a Thursday morning.
Hmm.
And that hit my calendar, of course, but I put in there that I'm guesting on a podcast, and that wasn't actually the important part. The important part was the next column over, where I decided ahead of time how I was going to feel as I was on this podcast. And then I took it one step further and I asked myself, what is it that I have to be thinking in order to feel that way? That's what it looks like to stay organized, because hour by hour, these compounded moments of life where I have decided ahead of time how I'm going to feel and how I'm going to think, those like steps are compounded day after day after day. And that's what creates an extraordinarily organized, satisfying life. So that's how I do it.
And I'm glad you said that, Tracy, because the other day I had to do a webinar that started at 8:30 my time. It was 5:30 to 8:30, and it was about slowing down. And people were saying, "Oh, you're so energetic." And I said, because I knew I was going to do this 8:30 my time, which is close to my bedtime. I said, I took a nap. They were like, I took a nap because there was a
Yeah.
certain way I wanted to show up. I
Yeah.
didn't want to show up, tired, not energetic, not presenting at my best. So I knew that at a certain time, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was like, okay, I'm going to lay down, get up, eat dinner, get dressed, and present. And
Yeah.
so I understand. And thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah.
So, Tracy, how can people go to your website? Because I went to your website. Her website is fabulous. She's got master classes, coaching, self-made you. So how do people connect with you?
Yeah, so the easiest place to connect with us and really like tap into all of the things that we have to offer is on our website. It will connect you to all of our social media channels and all of the free resources. And the website is www.self-made, M-A-D-E, and then it's the letter U.com. And yeah, we have free coaching Friday where I am out there speaking to whoever will listen to me about how to think differently. But that kind of insight is only 20% of sustainable change. You need 80% of sustainable change to come from application. And so I want to offer platforms from which people can apply and really better understand if their way of applying is working for them. So we come alongside of them in this platform every single Friday. It's totally free and we'll coach you, we'll help you ask yourself better questions to get the results that you want. And then we also offer free master classes. And for those people who are loving this and want to take it deeper, we also offer a membership where you can really become immersed in this way of operating.
Hmm. So those of you who are listening, who are watching, I will have all of that information, her websites, her social media links on the show page so you can connect with Tracy directly. Tracy, thank you so much for your time. It has truly been a pleasure talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Janet.